Hello, in this video you can watch me doing a consultation with a client who had come to me for help with driving anxiety. I'm going to play the video and let it run through, and as you can see it's about 18 minutes long. But I'm going to be interrupting every now and then, and I'll be pausing the video and giving you some hints and tips along the way. But let's get straight into it and let's meet the client and see what I have to say. Hiya.
Hey, Paul, how's it going?
Right, yeah, I'm good, thanks. How you doing?
Good.
Yeah, good. So just before we begin, you are aware this is being recorded, right? Yeah,
Indeed.
That's why there's a big thing saying recording at the corner. So I'm just checking he does know it's being recorded, and this black rectangle thing down the bottom is just blurring out the names, just so you know. And are you happy for me to use this on my YouTube channel?
Sure.
Yeah. So just going to get that out of the way, just to begin with. So, first of all then, have you got any questions for me? Anything you want to ask about my videos or anything you've seen? So I always start off with this question. I only really ask two questions on my consultations, which are: one, have you got any questions? And two, what's the problem? That's all you really need to know. So the client asked me a great question.
So you do specialize, your general specialty is this intersection of anxiety and driving, right?
Yeah.
And you've dealt with these issues of fear of driving down hills, which is what I have.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a moment, yeah, about your problem specifically, but yeah, the symptom is irrelevant. So whether it's downhill, nighttime, bridges, whatever, that doesn't really matter because it's all really not that anyway. So the reason this is such a great question is you may well want to ask your therapist, what do you specialise in? Because so many therapists are what we call generalists, and they do fear of driving, fear of flying, fear of snakes, fear of spiders, phobias of all kinds, insomnia, pain control, weight loss. You have to ask yourself, how can you specialise in everything? How can you know about everything? Well, you can't. Now, as I will say throughout this video and all my other videos, driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving. And I just said there are only symptoms. So some people do ask, well, if driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving, why do you specialise in driving? You see, when you work with the same thing all the time, you just get used to hearing the same things, as you'll see me say in this call. I won't pause for too long to talk about this, but it's important. Yes, there are any symptoms, but because I work with driving all the time, I get used to it, and I hear the same things over and over, which allows me to quickly hone in on what the problem is. And if you don't know who I am and my background, this is me, Paul. I'm an online hypnotherapist, but I've also been a driving instructor in the UK for over 20 years. I've made over 700 YouTube videos, trained over 1,000 people to drive, taught hundreds of instructors. So that's why I do driving. Driving is my life, it's my passion, it's what I love. Not too bothered about fast cars and all that, but I just love driving and the freedom it brings. So that's why I do what I do. When you go to a therapist, ask them why they do what they do, and I can promise you it will stump a lot of them, because it will be like, I just like helping people. Not really the best reason, is it? I mean, yes, they want to help, but make sure your therapist has some kind of background in what they're actually doing. I mean, it's just common sense, isn't it? Let's get on with the video, though. I want to proceed with this and not talk too much about it. So yeah, so I've done this before a few hundred times. But the symptom doesn't really matter. So yeah, driving's my thing. That's what I do. So anything else you want to go over? Because sometimes people want to ask me things about my videos, or if you haven't got any questions, that's fine.
No, I don't have any other questions.
That's fine. That's the point of my videos, you see, because they do all the answering. Big point there. If you want to save time on your sessions and possibly even overcome your problem for free, go and watch my videos. There are over 100 on anxiety and over 600 on how to actually drive. So yeah, do go and watch those. It does help. The questions for me. So My only other question to you then is, can you tell me a bit about your problem? Just tell me what happens, what kind of things you get when it began, that kind of thing. So please listen carefully, and I want you to kind of play a game. I want you to pretend you're a therapist and this client is talking to you. Can you spot the vital clues that they give you? Probably not. If you can, you should be a therapist. But let's play it, and there's some absolute magic moments here. Let's get into it.
Sure. So I had never had any driving. I've driven a lot. I've driven a lot in different terrains. I lived for a while on one side of the United States, and I went to school on the other. So I drove across the United States 6 times, drove from Florida to Alaska and back. Lots and lots of driving. Never had any problems. And then, and I feel like this is very strange. My wife thinks it is extremely strange. I was probably...
Just going to pause quickly. Did you spot what he said there? He thinks it's strange. That's really important. A quick point as well. When you do a call with me, you'll normally just see me on the screen. It's just the way it records. It flicks between me and the client. And when I go, it sometimes cuts to me because I'm speaking as such. But sorry about that. Let's just get back into the video.
10 years ago, we brought our kids to a water park. And then we were hanging out with the kids, and then my wife just said, let's go, come on, let's go do this slide. And it was really tall. You had to walk up stairs. And I was like, what is this? And you had to get in a tube. And it was very rushed, and I was like, what is this? And we get in, and then as the young kid who pushes you down, he says, hold on tight, it's fast.
Oh. The kid said, hold on tight, it's fast. That could be vital. Let's carry on. But I'm smiling to myself when he said that.
And it was, very, very fast. And I felt like it scared me so deeply, where you just feel out of control, completely out of control. I did not get hurt at all. It just scared me really bad. And this feeling of being out of control, moving downhill out of control. And the day went by fine. It's not like I was crying and whatever, and then ever since then, when I'm in a car and I start driving down a steep hill, not, if I'm just here and there's a little hill, it's not a big deal to me. But
so just want to point out a few things here. Most of what he said so far is, well, I'll come back to that in a moment. I won't actually say that now because there's more to come. But did you notice what he said? That's really interesting. When he goes down a steep hill, it's a problem. When he goes down a little hill, it's not a problem. So I'm thinking, what's the difference? Let's carry on, and then I'll say what I was about to say.
If it's a steep hill, and then also if I can't necessarily see the end of the hill, and then sometimes even if I can see the end, I just get this feeling like oh my God, I'm going to be out of control. And it makes me tense up. My hands sweat. I feel like I'm drying my hands all the time, and I feel tense and like anxiety, panic. And it's just the going down part. And that's been happening, since then. And it's horrible, and it makes me feel terrible. I do get anxiety going up the hill, just in that I know the down has to come. because we're going up it. And it's just and it's gotten sometimes a little worse, sometimes a little better, but it's always there. And I feel like it's limiting my life, and I want to address it. And I was really just starting to feel like this is just the way things are, and I'm never going to be able to do anything.
Yeah.
And then I just Googled it.
Now, if you're someone with anxiety, please comment on if that's similar to what you would have said, because this is so typical of people who have got this problem. Now, there's one thing I'm going to say, this is what I was going to say before, and don't take this the wrong way, because you'll see what I mean later. But so far, most of what the client has said is absolute rubbish. Now, I'm not being rude, please don't take that the wrong way, especially if you're the client watching this back. This is what we call conscious conclusions. Most of what he said, although not all of it, it's the same old story he's told everyone before. This stuff about the water slide, about the way it made him feel. Notice how he said, like, afterwards he couldn't work out, what's going on? Why do I feel like this? It's the same story that gets repeated over and over and over and over and over. So this is why people think this can't be fixed, this is impossible. And this is where therapists go wrong, because a lot of therapists would listen to this and they'd start working on the water slide, and they'd say, okay, I want you to close your eyes, and they'd go through a 20-minute relaxation, what you call a progressive muscle relaxation, a PMR. Scan down a light from your head to your eyes to your nose. You feel calm, you feel calm. I want you to go back to this day. I want you to see this younger you, and I want you to go up to yourself and talk to them, and I want you to change the way you go down the slide, and I want you to hug yourself when you get to the bottom. It's nothing to do with that, right? That's just conscious conclusions. It's things he's told people before. That's not how we're going to fix the problem. Did you also notice he's told me exactly how he's going to enter hypnosis? He's told me so much in that last bit, although a lot of it was what we call rubbish, again in a nice way. I filtered out the important bits. It's a bit like when you go, panning for gold. You kind of get a pan, whatever, full of water, and you've got to sieve out the gold. He's told me how to hypnotise him. He's told me probably what the event was that started it, but we don't know what the root cause is. This story is what some classical therapists would call the activating event. So the water slide activated his problem, but that wasn't the problem. But most of what he's said so far is irrelevant. But let's carry on. So when you say it's really strange to you, what's strange about that to you? Now this is really important, because this is one of the key things he said. He thought it was strange. Now I think it's strange that he thinks it's strange. So I've asked him this because this is going to tell me quite a bit.
I think it is strange that that it's very. Now,
do you notice what's happening here? Sorry to keep interrupting, but this is so important. Do you notice how he's sort of having trouble putting it into words? That is really important because of this. Notice the look in his eyes, slightly confused, looking off to the side. If you froze the screen as I have here, you could say this is someone in hypnosis, because this is what it is. That's how you enter it. He's confused. He's got options available. If I'd have said, what's strange about it? And he'd just said, oh, well, it's weird, isn't it? It's funny. It's really strange. That's a conscious answer. But he's like, well, it's hard to explain. It's like, that's when, you get into the root cause, because it's confusing. You're going beyond what you know consciously into the subconscious.
Strange that, like, logically, I know that they don't build roads on hills that would be dangerous, and I know that my car is perfectly safe, but still.
I'm sorry, I've got to interrupt here. This is gold dust. This is classic. People who come to me will very often say, that they've been for CBT, which I'm not running down completely, it's good for some things, but I'm telling you, it won't fix driving anxiety. How many times do I get clients who say they've been to a session and they've just been read out statistics? Did you know that the government has this rule in place that any road must have an incline at a maximum ratio of blah blah blah? And did you know how car brakes work? And did you know how safe it is? And do you know, right, this is all conscious, logical thinking. It won't get you anywhere, because imagine this is the conscious thinking here at the top of his head. The problem is right down here, hidden in the subconscious. You're not even denting it. The problem's here, looking up, laughing at you, thinking, you think that's going to fix it? Ha 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 ha. You are never going to fix it with logic and statistics. Not in most cases anyway. Let's carry on.
It is completely a feeling.
It's a feeling. That is the difference between what I do and what most people do. I work with feelings, not thoughts and logic.
And where it's not a thought, it's a feeling.
He just said it himself. It's not a thought, it's a feeling.
I feel like it's physiological, where I can feel my heart racing, I can feel my hands sweating, and I can feel every muscle in my body tense up.
Well, if anyone I train with is watching this, you're rubbing your hands together with what he just said there. He's telling me so much, and he's said to me it's not about thoughts. So reading out pointless statistics about road safety and you are safe and you are calm, and go home and write in a journal that you can drive, you've got this, you can do it, and then go out and do exposure therapy. Rubbish. Not going to get him anywhere. He's just said that himself. And what the client says is king. The client is always the most important one. And he's telling me, he's saying to me, it's not going to work if you just tell me to think things.
But it's an overwhelming thing, and I can't, I feel like I have no control of it. So I feel like that's, and I tried later to talk to myself, this was never an issue before. Nothing has changed. You are still capable of doing these things.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything.
There you go, straight from the client's mouth. This is not me saying it, this is a client, and I hear this all the time. You can talk yourself up all you want, you can jump in the air, punch the air, say I've got this, I can do it, I can drive. You can write it on your mirror in lipstick, I can drive, I can do it. You'll get in your car and you'll fall to pieces, because that's not the problem. Driving anxiety has nothing to do with driving. No, because when you go down a hill, whatever you say, the feeling just comes on.
Yep.
Yeah. So the reason I asked you that is because although you say it's strange, this is what I hear every day. So it's not strange to me, because it's like, oh, it's another one of them. So, apart from down a hill, does it show up anywhere else, like speed, bridges, or is it just downhills? This is a really important question. I'll let him answer it, then I'll tell you why.
I would say that I don't really like the idea of going across a bridge and a narrow bridge, but it's not the same thing. I maybe feel a little this, but I don't sweat and I don't tense up. It's just the going downhill. Yeah,
that's important, because it's okay to not like something, that's fine, but to have a fear of it is different. Now, the other reason it's important is because you must understand the problem doesn't exist in isolation, doesn't exist in a vacuum. You've got to get all the pieces of the problem. And what I used to do wrong, I admit this when I was a new therapist, is I would get so excited that the client would cry and would have emotion come up, and I'd fix maybe 90% of it, but there were little bits of it elsewhere that I missed. And if you miss one bit of the problem, it will come back and grow to full size again. So, this feeling you get when you go down a hill, apart from this water slide, have you ever had anything like this before at all? Yeah. Now, sometimes in any situation in your whole life, sometimes people say you shouldn't ask this question. I won't get into this now because this video will be too long. But I find this is a useful question. Have you ever had this feeling before? Let's listen to what he says.
Not real. The only other thing I've had is since that water slide incident, a few times I've had and these were relatively minor incidences where I have an old tractor and with really bad tires and it slides down hills also, and that's happened 2-3 times, but I never had like, it never crashed and hurt myself. It was always just like, oh my God. And it was very much the same sort of, like, I felt like I was going to be out of control.
So most of this is conscious rubbish. Sorry, not being rude again, but he's just talking because this is not that relevant. But did you notice what he said about control? That's important. So this isn't the same thing exactly, but it is sort of linked. But you don't really have to work on this tractor thing. This is where if you don't know what you're doing, you can waste sessions and sessions. People say to me, how can you do it so fast? How can you get a result in 1 session, 2 sessions, whatever? Because I know what to not do. I know this is just conscious, what we call conscious fluff, that doesn't mean a lot. And I'm not going to go and waste time doing 2 or 3 sessions. You don't need to. It's not relevant. How I know that, I won't go into now. I haven't got time to explain everything.
Slightly was out of control because my brakes are terrible on my old tractor. But besides those things, no. I've never gotten into a car accident going down a hill or something like that.
Have you ever done this? Have you got the fear of driving and you're trying to rationalise, well, I've never had a crash, I've never been in a car crash. Doesn't work like that. Yeah. So did you say, sorry, the tractor thing was after or before the water slide?
After the water slide.
Yeah. So that won't be the relevant thing then. That's just me sort of talk to myself saying that's not relevant because it happened after the water slide. So it may have kind of tied itself into the problem, but it's not the event we bothered about. Because the thing to understand is obviously the water slide has got something to do with it, but that won't be the end of it. That will be like the beginning that's triggered something off. Yeah, this is what people often say to me. They say, well, I know what event caused it. I can promise you, and I haven't done the session yet. I'm recording this just after the consultation. I can promise you it's going to go deeper than the water slide. There'll be something else. And just remind me, what was it that boy said to you when he pushed you down? I'm being a bit cheeky here. I'll play the video and then I'll tell you why. Lied. What did he say?
He said something like it's gonna be fast or there's a big drop or something like all of a sudden like
Because sometimes when you say that, I've had this where even on a consultation, if that is really, really important, the client will go into a trance. And it's funny how they just shut their eyes, not always, but they can, and they just stop crying or whatever. So I'm kind of poking him here in a nice way, just seeing what reaction I got. He kind of laughed about it. It doesn't mean it's not relevant, but I was just kind of testing the water there. Sorry about the pun, testing the water on the water slide.
Like, I thought this was going to be really, really mellow. And then all of a sudden I was like, wait, what? This is going to be scary.
Yeah. You was expecting like a nice relaxing ride.
Yeah. And then
didn't get that.
Nope.
Yeah. So is there anything else about the problem you think I need to know?
I do feel like it's there all the time. But I feel like it's even worse when I'm driving with my whole family, if I'm driving with my wife and or driving with my kids, like, because I feel like there's this issue and I'm somehow defective because of it, and having people stare at you when you're feeling that way. makes it even worse.
All right, so, oh, if you're a therapy friend of mine, somebody I train with, and you're watching this, can you tell what he just said? That was so important. That was vital. And listen to what he says in a moment. And again, I'm not bragging about being the best therapist ever, I'm not. But so many therapists would miss this stuff. And this is what gets you to the root cause. Not all this rubbish about lie down and be calm and count yourself down and walk along a beach. This is how you get to the root cause. Notice I'm not doing anything, I'm just talking, not doing anything, hypnotic or magical. I'm not using special language, but watch what happens here. What's so bad about people staring at you? You see I picked up on it, and you see I've got like a smirk on my face because I know what he's just said is so important.
That I feel like I'm letting everyone down, and that, like, as a husband and as a dad, you gotta participate and do your job and drive people places. And, driving is, a fundamental part of our lives. So therefore I'm always just feeling like, what's my problem? Why can't I get over this? And then having these people who I've talked to all of them about, I don't hide this from them.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it better. That doesn't, they just therefore know. And I feel like the spotlight is always on me.
Boom, 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 jackpot. Did you hear what he just said? That's massive what he just said. I'm not going to spoil it all because I'm going to do more of these videos, but he has just virtually fixed his problem there. It's like I'm itching. If you watch my face, if I remember, because I've not watched this back, I'm itching to fix the problem, and I watch what happens if I remember. Watch what happens.
When all of a sudden we're driving somewhere and then we start going down a hill and I'm feeling that way.
Yeah. So just out of interest, does your wife drive?
Yes.
Yeah. So when she drives down a hill, what happens then?
I feel anxiety. I also feel like, oh my God, like these things start running through my head. What if the brakes didn't work? What if we couldn't slow down? What would happen?
Yeah.
We're all gonna die.
Have you ever thought that, if you've got anxiety? Does that sound familiar?
I feel that just, I feel.
I'm sorry if you might hear a nice scream van outside my house. Let's carry on.
Feel that, but not as bad as if I'm behind the wheel.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, from what you said, because this answers your question you asked me at the beginning, everything you said is quite, believe it or not, it's just the same everybody else says. Because when people say this, everyone thinks no one else in the world has got this. No one can possibly have this weird feeling. But loads of people have got it. I don't know what's causing it, because I don't give you the answer. So you might know from my videos, I can't say, oh, it's this. But I've already got a good idea where it's coming from. And this is why I do the one thing, because when you do the same thing over and over, it's like, here we go again. This is what I said earlier, by doing driving anxiety over and over and over, I can pinpoint things that if you went to, say, a stop smoking specialist, they would miss. And if you came to me to stop you smoking, yes, I could do it, but I might miss things that smokers often say. I've got lots of friends who are therapists, I might interview them and talk about different things like that. Let me know if you'd want to see those videos. Rather than, or haven't heard that before. So I can't say, oh, it's this and it's this, and I've got to be careful I don't kind of make an assumption. I don't want to kind of go the wrong way. But what we were doing in a session is kind of take what you've said there and we'd go into it. Yeah, go into it, because we just said a few things that if we were in a session, I would be picking on them and we'd be getting straight into fixing this within minutes. Because at the moment I'm deliberately not doing that, otherwise we might start staring off some kind of reaction. So what we do is we take what you said and we'd explore it. And all I'm going to do is ask you questions, just so you know. Pretty much my job is just to, it's kind of making you look inside yourself. So, because people sometimes ask, how does it work? I don't really do anything. I'm not going to put you through some procedure or whatever. It's just for you to find out. Vital, what I've just said there. If you come to me and you sit back and say, go on in, fix it, not going to happen. You fix it. I don't really do anything. And people often say to me after a session, how did you do that? Because you didn't do anything. And this is how you do it. I released a video which has kind of gone viral in my my kind of standards. It's getting like thousands of views a month. And I was saying that video about the way you fix anxiety is to not really do anything. And some people understandably don't get that. Let's carry on, but I'm just don't want to talk for too long, but let's see what else happens in this video, what it is. Because if I ask you now, what is causing your problem, what do you think?
It feels like that experience of feeling out of control, like unlocked something in my brain that turns on that fear, which probably, makes sense evolutionarily, your body's saying this is something fearful, avoid it. So it's somehow that was always locked in my brain somehow, and that somehow got unlocked in some sense.
Yeah. It sounds like you've been watching my videos. that is how it works. Yeah. So that's how it works. Now, although I'm joking, this is serious because knowledge is power. And some therapists have this thing about we mustn't tell clients how we operate. Rubbish. You want clients to know how you operate because it helps them find the cause of the problem. So people who come to me, it's quite funny this, but clients who come to me know more about therapy than many therapists. Right, I'll say that again because it's so funny, but it's true. Most of my clients know more about hypnotherapy than hypnotherapists do, because I educate them about how it works, and that helps them to use it to get a result. I wonder why some people don't want you to get a result. But the thing is, you won't know what that something is. That's the point. So our job in the session is to find out what have you unlocked. Because you are right, you've unlocked something, but you probably don't know what it is. Well, I can know you don't know what it is, because if you did, you'd be off driving down hills. So is there anything else you want to ask? And quick point, if you have got this problem with hills, I've got a page on my website, firstdrive.com, all about hills. I've got pages on bridges, highways, motorways, nighttime, whatever. I don't think I've got one at night time actually, but it's all the same sort of thing. Whatever your symptoms are, they're irrelevant. They're just symptoms. You haven't really got that problem. Ask anything you want to check or anything at all.
How long does this, since you've done this many times, how long does this take? Obviously there's variability around that, but is there an average and a range?
Well, the answer is the same for every question. It depends on you, because I have got a job to do, but really you're the kind of star of the show, as you were. So, for example, I did this with someone yesterday, and it took about 20 minutes. We'd found really what it was. Then it took another hour, and it was pretty much done. So about an hour and 20 minutes, and it was done. But that's because they found the thing quite quickly. Sometimes what can happen is you might do a session and just nothing comes up. It's rare, but it does happen. And you say, okay, maybe your mind just didn't want to play today. Just want to point out, I'm always honest with people. I find it funny how so many people and companies want to make money by deceiving you. Why not just be honest? I will honestly admit, does it always work? No. It says in my contracts it may not work. I can't guarantee it. So always look for honesty in a therapist, and if they start giving you any rubbish about, I always get a result. It never fails, every single time. Well, do you believe that? You come back the next session and it's like the floodgates open and it's just everything comes out. So unfortunately, I can't give you a straight answer. Normally, it takes like 1 or 2 sessions. That's it. But you don't know what the problem actually is. So I don't want to sort of put you off or whatever, but you might uncover something you've forgotten about. And you might think, oh, we need to work on that. So normally one session, which is about an hour, hour and a half-ish, but it all depends on finding the problem. Now, good point here, I'll mention something in a moment, is that I make everyone go through a survey before they work with me, and I'll ask them if they've had any major issues in their childhood. And I don't want to worry anyone, but sometimes people say, oh no, nothing's ever happened, I had a good childhood, and something comes up. I'll talk about that more in other videos, but you don't always know that you've had a problem. And I know that might sound funny, but that's how it works. The problem thinks, right, this is so bad, you are never going to remember that, and it locks yourself off in a room, and that's what your anxiety can be. Please don't worry about that, because it's quite rare, but it can happen. I did do a video about, what was it called, something like when therapy goes wrong, I think it was, and it talks more about that. So I know it's not a very good answer, it's quite vague, but I can't sound like it's going to take 1 hour and 5 minutes. Unfortunately, it's not that specific. And just a quick point, if you want to know more about hypnosis and why therapy sometimes doesn't work, I've done 2 pages on my website about those. Goes into massive detail, over 7,000 words on that stuff on each page. 5,000 on one page, 7,000 on the other thing. But let's get back to the video. But yeah, so not too long, but you don't know until you found out what it is.
Great. That's helpful to know where, some issues, it's like, well, it'll take a year or 2.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but not much takes that long unless you've got like some huge, massive problem, which yours isn't, because you've answered my survey. You haven't got any nothing in the past that's really, really bad. This is what I mentioned before. You can't say for certain, but you can only do your best to be as certain as you can. So, anything else you want to go over, or is that it?
No, that's good.
That's good. So, what I'll do is I'll send you over a page on my website just to look through. If you just complete that, it tells you things you already know. It's like health stuff and all that kind of thing. If you feel that, fill it out. It's like, because in England we say fill it in, but a lot of people I work with say fill it out. So I do like to do things with a bit of humour. It's just in America they say fill a form out, whereas in England we say fill a form in. And there have been times I've got a bit mixed up with the language. I might do a video on that. Some funny times when I've said something and a word, there's one word which in English completely harmless, and in America it is a very offensive, horrible word. You've got to be careful of this. This is all stuff I learned when I started working online, but that's for a separate video. Mm-hmm. If you fill it out, I'm used to that as well, because different languages can be confusing. But if you complete the form, that's a better way of saying it. And then, you get it back to me, and then we'll begin. And then from there, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't prepare. I don't know where it's going to go. Really important. If you go to a therapist and they start reading a script, they've got a ready-made bit of paper on a screen, and they say, lie down, imagine you're in your car, and you feel calm, and it's this stupid story. I've done videos about this. That stuff is nonsense. You cannot prepare this. I have no idea what the client's problem is. I've got like a slight inkling of how we'll get into it, but I still don't know what it is. I know from what he said where to go, but there is no way I can know the answer. And if anyone says they can fix your problem for you, they've got the solution. They don't know what they're talking about. We just start and we make it up as we go, and we see what happens. The sign of a true therapist: make it up as you go. Deal with what emerges. Don't have a pre-made plan, because plans will go out the window within seconds.
Perfect. Wonderful. I'm very excited to make progress on this and to have this stop limiting my life. That's
good. So thanks for letting me film this, because this will help a lot of people who might be out there thinking they're the only one with a problem. But they're not. So I'll send that over and I'll talk to you soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Have a good day.
And you. So there you go, that's the end of the video. Bye. Just leave play to the very end. So that's the consultation. This video is longer than it would normally be because I was pausing it talking. But as you can see, 18 minutes. My consultations are normally 10 to 20 minutes long because by the time you get to this stage, most people have watched my videos, they know who I am, so it's fairly quick. So I really hope that's helped you, and watch out for the session coming soon, session or sessions. We're going to dive into this water slide, excuse the pun, and we're going to find out what happens. Check out these other videos on the screen now for more help with your fear of driving, and if you'd like to work with me one-to-one online from anywhere in the world, contact me through my website, firstdrive.com. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again soon for more videos.